said, we're going to talk a lot about collaborations and partnerships, and I think there's probably no better, more interesting collaboration to watch than a different one than it's up here. Here we go. That's another one, but we'll get to that. Then what's going on at the Sustainability Consortium? So to take a look at what's happening under the hood, please welcome the CEO of the Sustainability Consortium, Kara Hurst.
Thank you. With me, I have Charlene Wall-Warren from BASF and Elizabeth Sturken from the Environmental Defense Fund, two of our board members. We're going to have a conversation about the consortium, where we're at now, some of the challenges that we face, and some of the huge opportunities in front of us. So we're thrilled to be here. It's great to be in this big room of friends, and many of you I know online. So hoping also to get a number of good questions, and we'll leave plenty of time for that at the end. By way of introduction, I wanted to say a few words about the Sustainability Consortium. We are about 4 years old now. We have a network of around 100 members, which represents $2.4 trillion in revenue. So we're a big group. We represent a lot of the consumer products industry. And we have been working diligently to produce these research products, which are really business tools. We are working around the world. We work in the US, we have offices in Europe, and now in China. And we have a global presence that allows us to look across consumer products and produce these research tools, which are now being integrated into business, being used by some of the world's largest retailers to evaluate their supply chains and the products in their supply chains and to make improvements on those products. We work in collaboration across a multi-stakeholder consortium. So we are a membership organization. And we have members from corporate, from academic, from civil society organizations, and also from government entities and regulators. So we really do work across a variety of geographies, across a variety of products, anything you'd see sold in the retail environment. We work across a variety of sectors, and all of that leads to some very complicated but very, very rich collaboration and partnership that has resulted in these business tools. And really our objective here today is to give you a look at where those tools sit and to hear really from our members who represent different viewpoints within the consortium around some of those challenges and the ways that we are using the tools and implementing them. We've developed a few solutions now in addition to those toolkits. So those tools are being disseminated much more widely and being used with thousands of suppliers around the world. We'll have data from those suppliers in the aggregate very soon, and lots of different ways in which we're looking at the improvement opportunities that are associated with some of those issues. So not only how can we create more transparency and collective vision around some of those social and environmental impacts, but how can we create improvement in those global supply chains to make a difference in those products and deliver more impact to our mission, and the importance of using the market influence to change sustainability within the global consumer product supply chain. So I would go back to just a couple of things in my sort of opening. One is that we saw in the State of Green Business report that we're plateauing on progress. And I think having been in the sustainability field for 15 plus years myself, it's a really interesting point in time. We have captured some of that low-hanging fruit. We have looked at that and said, what are the existing opportunities? And I think it's time for that kind of disruptive innovation to now happen. And at the consortium, we're very interested in creating that disruptive innovation through the tools that we have, through creating it through the innovation projects that we've created, and the system that we're offering out there more widely to the world. So it's a disruptive innovation intended to disrupt that kind of plateau and create a catalyst for much more progress to come. We also heard earlier from President Crow that we criticize by what we create. And I thought that was a really inspirational thought, because for us, we really see a need for science-based information to inform some of these sustainability discussions. So we criticize by what we create, by creating this science-based tool and putting out there that tool to be used more widely in business. So with that, I'll ask Charlene and Elizabeth to say a little bit more about themselves and their organizations, and we'll jump into some questions.
Sure. So I'm the Director of Sustainability for BASF in North America. For those of you who remember audio cassettes, that's not us anymore, okay? We actually are the world's leading chemical company. We have about 110,000 people worldwide and 16,000 in North America. And today, really, Where we focus on sustainability is from a strategic perspective. We actually have a company purpose. We create chemistry for a sustainable future. And that includes things like technologies for the batteries in the electric vehicles, more efficient homes, et cetera. So I've also been working in the sustainability space for over 10 years. I've been working in industry for over 20 years. And in 2009, when we first learned about the Sustainability Consortium and its mission to really utilize science to drive sustainability through consumer goods value chains, we thought that fit very well not only with our company purpose to create chemistry for a sustainable future, but also with our background of over 15 years in sustainability measurement. So we said we want to play, we want to come to the table with everybody else and see how we can look at all these different products and see where there are opportunities for us to work together on sustainability. So we were the first chemical company there, and we're still very happy to be part of the initiative.
Hi, everybody. I'm Elizabeth Sturken. I'm Managing Director for Corporate Partnerships at Environmental Defense Fund. I've been at EDF for 17 years, and I lead our supply chain team, and we're working with Walmart on sustainable supply chains and healthier products. Our focus is on health, sustainability, and impact. Well, EDF, as you probably know, this audience probably knows, is a leading national nonprofit that works with companies and has a track record of doing so for 25 years, back with our original partnership with McDonald's years ago when NGOs didn't work with business. We have been involved with TSC from the very beginning. We organized NGOs around TSC at a time when NGOs didn't have a way of getting involved with TSC. That's really changed now, but we were able to bring up some concerns to TSC and actually focus on solutions. EDF has been deeply involved at the working group level of TSC, and that's where all this work happens. And I'm going to do a shout out to my colleague Alicia Staggs, who leads our team there. And then now we're on the board and looking forward to higher level impact with this great organization.
Great. So I'm going to jump right in since we have limited time on the questions.
Yeah.
The first of which, for me, is we've been around for 4 years, so we're no longer in our infancy. I guess we're in our toddlerhood. And wondering whether, as members, you think that we are where you thought we would be. Has the organization shifted along the way? Has it changed? Is it surprising to you?
Well, in a lot of ways, I think TSC is actually beyond where I thought it would be at this point, frankly. In terms of the rapid iteration of the products that they put out, and it's, she talked about the 100 product categories. It's moving a lot faster than I would expect something like this to move as a multi-stakeholder initiative. The growth across the globe, in China and Europe is another example, and then integration, really partnering with other organizations to have deeper impact. Sustainable Apparel Coalition, CDP, some of these nascent partnerships that we're doing. It's a lot faster than I thought it would be. On the other hand, there's a lot of opportunity that we just haven't taken up, and that's really what I'm interested in diving into. I think now is the hard work, really, of taking the TSC knowledge outputs and having member companies use them, and setting some really aggressive goals as member companies. If you're a member company and you're not using the TSC knowledge products, why are you a member? If you're not a member of TSC, why are you not a member of this organization that has this scale and impact and opportunity to dive into this resource of knowledge that just, I don't think you find anywhere else?
Yeah, I would offer also, we as BASF partner a lot globally with different organizations, and when we started with TSC, again, one of the really appealing things was kind of the scope. So everything from home and personal care to food, beverage, and agriculture to electronics to toys, all areas where chemistry can really contribute to promote the sustainability of the products. And I would say the breadth kind of what TSC has tackled up to this point is far more than we expected coming into it. I think where it's shifted directions a little bit for us is we came in, being sort of really good engineers and scientists, we said we need to measure everything. And so when we came in, we wanted to really leverage a life cycle approach in all these categories. And to TSC's credit, I think we really had to, in order to have the breadth of the impact, we had to shift direction a little bit and say, okay, we have to kind of go see how much we can cover, and then we need, I think, still to come back and say, how can we leverage some of those scientific measurement approaches to then really hone the products in and understand where the priorities are. But I think the breadth of what they've done in terms of execution and where we've had a chance to participate in all the working groups, we've made an awful lot of progress.
Yeah, so there's a couple of points that you brought up I want to touch on there. And for those of you, I don't want to play inside baseball here and have terminology that is not familiar. So the product categories that we work on are things like milk, beef, laptops, plastic toys. They're agricultural commodities. They're products that you'd see, again, in a retail environment. And the tools that we create are evaluations of those products, so the social and environmental issues, as well as key performance indicators. And those are our measurement and reporting system. And so that integration that you both mentioned in terms of people using those, maybe just say more about, why or why not you think that's happening. What are some of the challenges or barriers to further integration of using that kind of information in a company, or maybe what opportunities we're leaving on the table?
Sure. Well, I'll start by saying I do see actually companies are starting to use the system, so we're making progress, lots of room to grow and really leverage it. And it's everything from individual companies maybe tackling an issue that has been identified, so whether it's water or sustainable sourcing of a certain product. Those are things that as TSC kind of hones in on these issues, we then get agreement along the value chain that this is an area we should all be working on. I think where some of the challenges are is you all in this room, I'm sure, are very familiar with sustainability and the scope, right? It can be almost everything but the kitchen sink for some products. So you want to start by kind of casting the net wide and seeing what are the potential issues. And I think one of the real challenges for companies then is and for TSC is how can we hone in on where the real impacts are and where we kind of collectively want to focus. So you're not just gathering kind of across the board, but you're leveraging that then to say, here's where we can truly make progress on key issues that we can agree as supply chains we need to really be addressing more effectively.
Well, in terms of use of the TSC work, I think certainly Walmart is the best example, and we know because EDF is partnered with Walmart, and I have a team that is there on the ground in Bentonville doing this work. Walmart has taken the TSC information that Kara explained and created a questionnaire to send out to its suppliers, gotten answers back, and created a scorecard for different product categories, identifying where the big hotspots and opportunities for improvement are. Then the buyers, when they meet with the suppliers, they use that information to try and target improvement opportunities on sustainability, both environmental and social opportunities. So Walmart has now done that across 270 different categories. It's millions of products, it's billions in sales. It's 1,000 plus suppliers who've responded and are taking part in this. So, it's happening. This TSC is making a huge difference with that one example alone. I'll dive a little deeper in one particular example, which is fertilizer use. TSC data on environmental hotspots pointed to fertilizer as a big greenhouse gas hotspot in Walmart's supply chain. And indeed, we did some further analysis with Deloitte that identified fertilizer as the biggest greenhouse gas hotspot in all of Walmart product categories. And the reason for that is Walmart is the biggest grocer in the United States, and grocery is over 50% of their sales. And so with that being the biggest opportunity, it was a great pairing with EDF work that had been done for years on the ground on fertilizer optimization. So we've been working with farmers to optimize fertilizer use. Well, clearly that saves farmers money if they're not having to put as much fertilizer on their fields. It's their biggest cost input, and it certainly creates greenhouse gas and water pollution savings. So Walmart is working with supplier partners, some leading supplier partners, to create fertilizer optimization plans. And that work is starting to roll out and happen. It's the best example, I think, in terms of a tangible use of TSC knowledge to drive some very real opportunity way up Walmart's supply chain and on the ground.
Great. I want to touch a little bit on the collaboration. You both sort of represent different parts of the consortium from a corporate perspective, and Charlene is our corporate lead director, to our civil society organizations. And those have had different roles to play in the consortium. We're a big group. We have very diverse perspectives, definitely tremendous amount of disagreement sometimes on some of the issues that come up. And so how has that been in terms of working within an academic environment? We work within universities, ASU certainly being a very key partner to us, University of Arkansas, Nanjing University in China, and Wageningen in the Netherlands. So we have all of these academics in the mix, plus civil society organizations, plus the corporations, which can make for a really interesting conversation. It can also create a lot of tension around pace. It can create a lot of tension around perspectives. And so how has that been in terms of working within that multi-stakeholder collaboration?
Well, it's hard to get all those entities together and make progress. I mean, that is our real challenge. And I think that this is why I'm surprised at the rapid iteration that TSC has been able to do in its work, and that's impressive. And I'm also, I'm heartened to see that some of the very real and very hard criticism that NGOs have pointed out about TSC is being taken to heart, and they're incorporating that input and trying to make those changes. A number of leading NGOs are involved with TSC, in addition to EDF, the Nature Conservancy, World Wildlife Fund, on the social side, CARE, Oxfam, other organizations, WRI, many different NGOs, and increasingly international NGOs. But we need more NGOs involved in this, and it's a great opportunity to influence and improve products that are, the Walmart example is just one of them. But I will say that I think that the NGOs have a unique opportunity, and companies have this unique opportunity with this, this network, this unique network that TSC represents. And that is what I find most hopeful. The work is really challenging, and it's really, really hard. But increasingly we need a systems approach, and this is the only way to attack the big problems we're facing now.
Yeah, and from our side, I mean, so many companies have initiatives they're doing on their own. And we've worked in our different consumer goods value chains with partners along the value chain to try and understand what are the important hotspots along those value chains for a number of years, because we're sitting kind of at the very front. So it's interesting you're mentioning Walmart, so here's BASF and here are all these other steps before the other end of the value chain. But I think where the real opportunity is, so we definitely have had challenging discussions, but I think where the real opportunity is to bring those different stakeholders together in that kind of a forum, where if you can come to agreement in terms of how you can approach a certain issue and then collectively make progress on it, the end result is far more than the work that might be done individually. Not that that work isn't important. Every company should really be working to find the best partners. But within the TSC, you just have the scope and the breadth along the value chain and the representation. And for us, and we've been also very strong advocates of best practice sharing. We've had programs in China where we work with suppliers there and business partners to educate other business partners about sustainability. And that's what the TSC represents the opportunity to do within the TSC, and then also to kind of take those best practices and opportunities to drive progress along the value chain and bring others along. So those difficult discussions, I think, are really worth it so that we can make progress.
Great. So one of the things I think a lot about is the future of the consortium. So we've been executing on these product toolkits and information for a number of years now. They're starting to be integrated into business, and that's terrific. And we'll continue to do that. We'll continue to improve the quality of those, because that's, as we get out and we are able to pilot those, we learn a lot, and that's continuous improvement process is an iterative process. It comes back into our work. We learn, we change the information. Another thing that we're focused on is integration into business. You've talked about that a little bit. So how do businesses use this information to learn? How do they use it to work with supply chains? But the last piece that I focus a lot on is our partnerships. And so where can the consortium play a role And a lot of these initiatives that have very big visions, World Vision 2020, visions about alleviating hunger, visions about changing our food systems, visions about addressing some of these major complex environmental issues that no one of us can address alone. And so I think there's a role for us to play in creating those partnerships, aligning information, because there's a plethora of initiatives out there. So where we can harmonize and align our work, these initiatives that are out there, and where we can contribute scientifically based data to some of those initiatives to ensure that those big, audacious goals are met, I think that's a role we can play. I'm wondering whether you see it similarly, if you see that vision happening within the consortium, if you see other roles for us, or what are the opportunities for the consortium that we're not yet thinking about or that could be challenging for the members going forward.
Yeah, definitely, I think this idea of kind of doing even more partnering with other organizations that have been working in this space is a great opportunity to kind of build on the great work that the consortium and its members have already been doing, and seeing what more progress we can make. So rather than recreating the wheel, kind of really coming to agreement on, this is a space, whether it's climate or whatever the area is, where we feel this is a really good, robust program, and let's leverage that within the TSC and use that to drive progress even further. So I think that's a space we really need to tap into more so. And it'll be critical to really achieve the scope and impact that the TSC wants to have.
Yeah, it's just stupid to do work that someone else is already doing, right? And, so I feel like TSC is making all those right first initial steps to try and make sure we're not making that mistake. As NGOs, we're spread really, really thin, and we're being asked to get involved in a lot of different efforts. And a lot of them are really good, really meaningful efforts, but we can't do that. And companies can't either. Companies don't have the resources. So we have to rationalize this process somehow. And so if TSC is doing what it's supposed to do, and I think the only way it will survive and thrive is if it links arms with other change organizations and other multi-stakeholder organizations to try and make the most of our individual efforts into a greater whole.
Great.